What's up YouTube? My name is Caden and you're watching Gossip Garage. Today is part 3 of the Jalopy go-kart here. Today we're going to be hooking up the chain and brakes, putting some nuts on the ends of these tie rods so I can actually steer. And then we're also gonna put a torque converter cover on this thing, and we're gonna be getting the engine running. And then after all those things are done, then we can take this thing for a test drive. And let me tell you guys, this thing is probably going to be kind of sketchy considering the way the front end is and the way this thing is kind of lopsided. So stay tuned for that and enjoy the video. All right guys, so in the last video of this project, we got the engine mounted, the steering hooked up, and the seat mounted. And then in this video, we're going to be getting the engine running, putting on the chain, and hooking up the brakes. And then I still have to find some nuts for the tie rods so I can actually have steering. So we're actually gonna start with the brakes over here. I got a brake disc right there from Go Power Sports, along with a hydraulic brake caliper to go with this master cylinder from a pit bike that I already had in the cabinet there. So let's start by removing the rear axle, getting that brake disc mounted, and then hooking up and bleeding the hydraulic brakes on this thing. So actually, before we do that, I want to remove this 30 series torque converter right here and replace it with this centrifugal clutch right here for 2 reasons. Number one, I don't have a lot of trust in the structural integrity of this chassis that I built, considering that the rear axle is only mounted with 2 small 1-inch pieces of tubing, and I don't want to be putting a whole bunch of extra load on that axle and end up breaking something. And plus, I'll have to build a bigger cover for that torque converter because it's like literally right next to where you're going to be sitting, and I think the clutch is going to provide just as much top end. I mean, maybe a little less, but I think it'll still be fine for what this thing is. I don't need to be going crazy fast on this thing, and I don't need a ton of power. So I think a clutch will still be fine on this. And plus, I want the torque converter to put on the red go-kart over there. So let's go ahead and get that off and replace it with the clutch. All right, so apparently this clutch is too small of a inner bore diameter to fit this shaft. I'm guessing this is a 5/8 shaft and that's a 3/4. So I'll have to order a new clutch for this thing. But I still have to get some chain for it. So I'll get that on order. But for right now, let's go ahead and remove the rear axle and get that brake disc on and start hooking up the brakes. All right guys, so we got the brake disc on here. but I'm still waiting on some more brake line to get here so I can hook up this brake system, because I'm gonna mount the master cylinder right here next to the pedal, and I need to be able to extend that brake line to be able to mount the caliper on the disc back here. So while we're waiting for that to get here, I did buy a centrifugal clutch and some chain for this thing. So let's go ahead and get that on here. Alright guys, so I got the clutch and the chain on, but I realized that I need a half link in there in order to make this chain work without moving the engine. So I'm going to jump ahead to when that gets here after I order it here in just a second, so I can hook up this chain, and then after we do that, then I can start mocking up the brakes and getting that all hooked up, because once the half link gets here, I should also have the brake line that I ordered. So I'll just jump ahead to that. All right guys, so I have the half links and the brake line here. So let's go ahead and button up this chain, get the master link in, and then we can start working on the brakes. All right, guys, so I've got the brakes done on this thing, and mostly bled. I've got the caliper mounted back there, and then the new brake line ran under the seat and to the pedal with the master cylinder there. I think I bled it most of the way. It is building pressure, which is good. although I may need to take it apart later and kind of re-bleed it because they are a little bit soft. But one thing I do need to fix right here is that's just not working. So I need to find a way to kind of hold this down like that way, so it doesn't come up like that, and also a way where it can still slide into the master cylinder there without being like completely held down to where it can't even move. So I'll have to figure that out. I'm thinking like a hose clamp or something that can slide, but I don't know. I'll have to kind of figure it out. But the other issue I need to still fix is, for some reason, this engine isn't running. So I'm probably just gonna try and clean the carburetor, and I'll check for spark and maybe adjust the valves. But I've done that enough times on this channel, so I'll just do that off camera and come back when the engine is running. But I also finally went out and got some castle nuts to put on the ends of the tie rods there. So now we have fully functional steering. Now I did notice the geometry of this steering is kind of weird. It's kind of the opposite of Ackerman steering, like that. So if you don't know what Ackerman steering is, it's basically where the inside wheel turns more into the turn than the outside wheel. So it should kind of be the opposite of what it is right here, because right now the outside tire is turning more than the inside tire, and that's going to lead to plowing with that tire. So I'm not really sure how I can adjust it, or even if I can adjust it, just because of the tight clearances on that and kind of right there and just everywhere, really. So I think for what this thing is, it'll be fine, but I think I'm just going to leave it alone, at least for now. So I'm going to try and get this engine running off camera and maybe try and re-bleed the brakes and fix that issue over there, and then we can take this thing for a test drive. All right, guys, so I was working a little bit off camera on the brakes, and here's what I came up with. I actually completely deleted the brake pedal on this thing because it just wasn't really going to work the way I had it set up. So I bought this brake lever right here, which is a hand lever for a motorcycle, but it'll work just fine like this because you can just reach forward and grab that. And I already bled the brakes like this, and I actually found that you don't have to have the master cylinder off and use the little valve on there to bleed the brakes like this, because if this is the highest point, you can just take the lid off and just pump this 50,000 times, and it'll actually get all the bubbles out through the little holes inside of here. So this actually is going to work a lot better than the pedal for brakes, and it actually does prevent this thing from rolling. So that means the brakes work on this thing. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the engine running off camera, and then we can take this thing for a test drive. All right, guys, so I just got the engine running off camera. It turns out the carburetor had a whole bunch of garbage in it. So I cleaned that out, and now it starts and runs great. So let's go ahead and get the tires inflated, move this out of the way, and push this thing out into the driveway and take it for a test drive. This thing is a little tight, and I have my jacket on just because of how close the engine is to me. Not bad! Oh, until that happens. A little sketchy. Kind of fast. well, that's why. The brake pad fell out. I'll have to find that and put it back in. And it died. I'm probably out of gas. I didn't have a whole lot of gas in this tank. I wonder if I actually am out of gas. No, there's gas in it. I probably have the idle set a little bit too low. All right, I'm gonna adjust the idle on this engine, go try and find that brake pad, and then I can probably drive this thing a little bit more. And I'll probably find a different way to film. I'll probably go charge up the GoPro real quick because I kind of need two hands, one to hold the steering wheel and one to hit the brake over here. So I'm gonna do that stuff real quick and then I can drive this thing some more. Also, another thing I need to fix is this steering right here. I have to weld a washer right here so the steering shaft doesn't pop out like it did back there, because that could be incredibly dangerous. So let's go ahead and find the brake pad and weld a little washer on there. All right, while I have the welder out to weld that washer on, I'm also gonna cut a piece of sheet metal over there to make a basic clutch cover, because it's like right next to the seat and it can be kind of dangerous. So let's do both of those things. And I still have yet to find the brake pad. So once I find that, we'll put that back in as well. And then I'll get some more footage of this thing driving around. All right, guys, so I welded a little bead on the end of this right here so the steering shaft can't come out of the slot. And then I also made this little clutch guard right here so the clutch doesn't destroy your hip. Now, as for the brakes, I couldn't find the brake pad that goes in there. So I guess we're just gonna send this thing with no brakes, which is a little sketchy. But it's pretty light, so I can kind of put my foot on the tire a little bit and slow it down. And this thing doesn't go crazy fast, so I'm not gonna be going crazy with it. So I'm gonna have my brother film me on this thing so I can have a cameraman and actually get some good shots of me driving this. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a jacket on and take this thing for a drive. Dying. The pickup on this thing is actually pretty good considering it only has a clutch. I'm gonna drive this thing around a little bit more and then I'm gonna take it down the road with the phone in my pocket to get a top speed on this thing. I won't film it just because you've already seen me driving down the road and everything, and I want to get some more close-up shots of just this thing driving around the yard.
Ooh, that was a chain. Sounded like a chain.
Yeah, I guess this is what I get for building a really janky go-kart. It's not bad though. Holy cow, it bent the bolts. That's crazy.
Wow. All
right.
4 of them?
All right.
Wow.
I'm gonna get the chain back on and just take it for a top speed run real quick, and then we can get a little bit more footage of me driving this thing around, because it's actually kind of fun. And even though it doesn't have Ackerman steering, it kind of has the opposite of it. It almost handles like a racing go-kart, which is actually kind of cool and a little bit surprising. So let me get the chain back on and then we'll go do that. Very cool. So this thing, oh gosh. Where'd that come from?
Is that an engine bolt?
I don't know. Where'd that come from? That's weird. Oh, that's why I had no gas pedal.
Oh, the whole... It moved it. It completely moved it from the...
I was wondering why I had no gas pedal. Yeah, so I'll need to probably find a way to keep that bolt from coming out, because this thing does vibrate quite a lot. And I was wondering why I had no gas pedal. That's probably why. But other than that, this thing is actually fairly fun to drive. It's a lot better than I thought it would be. The steering is not great, but about halfway through the steering angle, it actually behaves like a racing go-kart, which is kind of neat. But something nice about it is that this thing is literally like so light. I can just pick the front up with like 2 fingers. It's like, this thing doesn't hardly weigh anything. So we're gonna get a little bit more footage of me driving around the yard with this thing, and then we will probably end the video there.
He's gonna need back surgery after this. Ah! Oh, he's gonna hit these. Oh! Like I said, he's gonna need back surgery. The chain again. What is that, the 3rd or 4th time? Man. I don't know if he's gonna make it. Hey, he spun tires a little bit. Chain again.
All right, so Garrett's gonna try it. Go ahead.
Oh, these are dirty. Oh my God. I'm gonna need surgery.
I didn't realize how goofy this thing looks until he hopped on it, and then it was like, that thing's actually a very odd looking go-kart. Kind of unique. I like it though. You could consider this thing like the Humvee of go-karts, because it's so wide for just being a one-person go-kart. Not a lot of torque with that clutch.
Are you kidding me? 7 times.
Oh, the bolt fell out again.
I don't want to break this thing, but I feel like it's already broken.
Oh my gosh, the clutch is smoking so much. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it's like, that clutch is hot, man.
I could toast a marshmallow. Wow.
Yeah, you could probably toast marshmallows over it. What do you think?
Your helmet's hot. This is a fun go-kart that gives you back aches.
Yeah, it does kind of shake a lot.
I almost hit a tree 3
But
times.
the big tires on it, I think do give it a little bit of like suspension. Not really. And also the frame probably flexes a lot, but this thing is very,
Oh, it flexes about 3 inches.
yeah, it's very janky. But I think overall this thing is pretty cool though. All right, guys, so I think that's a good spot to end the video because the chain keeps popping off over and over and over again. It's popped off like probably 5 or 6 times over the course of just a couple minutes of riding. So I think this is a good stopping point. And this thing does need a little bit more improvement. Like it could use a foot peg for your left foot. I could probably improve the steering on it a little bit because as you can see, that tire, the outside tire, turns way further in than this one. Same thing can turn that way, which is the opposite of Ackerman steering like I mentioned before. And the engine keeps dying. But other than that, this go-kart turned out a lot better than I thought it would. It's actually fairly comfortable to ride, even though it is a little bit cramped. It'd probably be better suited for like a smaller kid. But I am going to be selling this thing just because it's one of those projects that you don't really keep around. It just kind of, you build it, it takes up space in your garage forever, and you hardly ever ride it. This is one of those things I just kind of threw together for a video series, but I did have a lot of fun with it. I learned a lot from it, and I definitely want to do stuff like it in the future. So if you want to see more content like this, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment so I can know your thoughts on what you think of this thing. But other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.